Good morning, Mrs. Lam from Bloomberg News. And on John Lee entering the CE race, I know you don't want to comment on his candidacy, but what do you think the next chief executive's priorities should be? Should it be restoring Hong Kong's reputation as an international financial center or focusing on the security situation? And finally, after you publicly announced on Monday that you would not seek a second term as CE, Beijing still has yet to publicly respond. Have they communicated with you directly, and do you see the lack of their public response as a sign that they are dissatisfied with your performance in office? Do you personally have any regrets about your time as chief executive? Thank you.
I don't want to comment on the work of the next chief executive, except to repeat what I said on an earlier occasion, that every chief executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region should possess the quality to understand fully the dual accountability of the chief executive, which is very, very unique, that the chief executive has dual responsibility. He or she is responsible to the Central People's Government, but at the same time to the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. I also said on that occasion that the chief executive will need to have a very good grasp of this unique principle of one country, two systems, Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong, and a high degree of autonomy. And so whoever possesses these qualities, I'm sure will be able to do the job well. My decision not to seek a second term is my decision. So why do anybody have to make a public response on my decision? I welcome my friends, my supporters who send me messages that they did appreciate what I have done in my term, but there's no need for any official response from any government, including the Central People's Government.
Due to the flight ban mechanism, more routes have been banned since April 1st. Earlier this week, over 70% of flights scheduled to land on a single day were canceled. This, in effect, has erased Hong Kong's easing of travel restrictions and made it very challenging for Hong Kong residents to return to the city. Yesterday, the Director General of the International Air Transport Association said that Hong Kong is essentially off the map now. So will the government review the flight ban mechanism again, including the strict criteria of 3 positive cases per flight? Or will a review need to wait until after the implementation of social distancing easing later this month? What is your response to business groups who say that the travel easing so far has not amounted to very much?
There is no doubt that Hong Kong is a very important aviation hub. And actually, in the 14th five-year plan, through my strong request, the International Aviation Hub was written into the 14th five-year plan as one of the areas that the Central People's Government will strongly support Hong Kong. Previously, it only mentioned about transportation. But in the 14th five-year plan, we managed to get 2 specific references. One is to transportation, including maritime and other things, but the other is to an international aviation hub in anticipation of the completion of the 3rd runway system. So during my term, I've been doing all I could to support the development of the airport as well as the airport city. So the 5th wave of the COVID-19 epidemic has really hit us hard. And up till now, we are still adhering to the policies of preventing the importation of infected cases, and at the same time, through social distancing measures to reduce or avoid the spread of local infections. But that doesn't mean we will not continuously review the situation and make the necessary adjustments. I made the announcement on the 21st of March to lift the place-specific flight suspension in respect of the 9 countries, which have been imposed since January. And it is not right to say that this travel easing has no impact, because according to my data, since the 1st of April, on average, 1,000 or over 1,000 Hong Kong residents have returned. Prior to that, it was a daily average of 200. So many Hong Kong residents have made use of this lifting of the place-specific flight expansion and return to Hong Kong. And so far, I have to thank the airport authority, the airlines, and all my colleagues to make this whole process as efficient, as smooth as possible for these returnees, right from landing at the airport to the test and hold for the PCR test, and then designated transport, taking them to the designated quarantine hotel, and allowing them to leave after day 6 and day 7 with a PCR negative, with the RAT negative test. So what we now discover since the 1st of April is probably because of the very relaxed approach adopted in many places. Some of the flights have brought back more than 3 or more cases upon arrival. And one has to ask if the requirement for pre-boarding is a PCR negative test. Is it really because of the circumstances that a negative test of a person turned positive after 10-15 hours upon arrival? So we have to understand what has happened leading to these route-specific flight suspensions that we have to impose upon airlines under the current policy. So we will continue to review and to make the necessary adjustments in the light of the Hong Kong academic situation.
早晨啊，TVB 嘅，咁啊首先想問翻呢，即係保就業嗰度嘅問題啦。咁啊，其實3月嘅時候呢，開記者會就話係初步計劃啦，但係當時就特別提到啦，話上一輪計劃呢，有企業將資助額用喺一啲高薪嘅僱員裏邊，所以呢就特登呢將個月薪係設限嘅。點解隔咗一段時間之後收完意見，點解今次又會將呢個月薪嘅設限又冇咗呢？即係其實當初出嚟嘅諗法同而家最大個分別喺邊度？有啲乜嘢嘅因素而定到即係政府喺今次計劃裏邊有呢個改啦？會唔會擔心即係啲企業最後重蹈翻上一輪嘅玩法，就係話繼續揀一啲人工高嘅員工咧，然之後去攞一個資助額啦？落去就係咧，其實嗰個今次話設1000名員工為限啦，其實政府會唔會都擔心就係話有啲企業係超過1000人，佢哋只係攞到呢個1000嘅呢個資助之後，其實1000以外嘅員工有一個可能會被炒或者係即係保唔到就業嘅機會咧。同埋最後就係想問埋嗰個剔除名單嗰度啦，即係上次咧林太都有講過話，我哋上一輪計劃裏邊咧係有特別個俾即係傳媒啊或者社會批評，就係一啲超市啦或者啲揾錢嘅行業咧，佢哋其實係唔應該受到資助。點解今次又會變咗做佢哋受限有100個員工可以獲得資助咧？點解唔可以將呢批資源更好地去幫更多嘅中小企或者一啲可能係 part time 嘅員工啊等等，咁令到成個公帑做得更好咧？最後就係林太雖然唔講李家超選呢個特首啦，都想問下局長自己點睇咧？唔該。
問你，局長。我答嗰啲保就業計劃嘅題目。第一咧就可能我哋講得唔清楚啦嚇。嗰個防止喺2022年保就業計劃唔會出現你剛才形容，其實一般形容為肥上瘦下嘅情況咧，係仍然保持喺度嘅嚇，因為係兩個唔同嘅設計嚟嘅。第一咧就係上次2020嘅保就業計劃，如果一個僱主報咗一個僱員嘅人數，我哋就以嗰個金額咧就俾咗呢個補貼佢。然後就由佢作為僱主咧去分配，佢只係要承諾佢有翻咁多僱員，即係嗰啲人頭喺翻度，但係我哋冇規限到咧，佢攞我哋嘅工資補貼要擺喺嗰個僱員嘅工資裏邊。但今次無論喺3月18講嘅設計，或者今日嘅完善版，呢個係改咗嘅。就係話佢攞我哋嘅工資補貼嘅劃一嘅8000蚊咧，或者而家多一個叫做俾兼職嘅4000蚊咧，一定要俾到呢個僱員嘅。我哋會睇翻佢喺強積金嘅供款喺嗰3個月係咪呢啲僱員係攞到8000蚊、4000蚊嘅5%嘅供款嘅。咁所以係完全處理咗上一輪嗰個問題，亦都同我哋3月18日講嘅咧19日。18日講嘅咧係完全一致嘅，因為呢個係好重要嘅，勞工界係好堅持咧，唔可以再出現一個俾僱主自己冇高弄低啊嗰啲嘅情況，而我哋吸收咗個經驗咧，亦都覺得呢個係合理。咁所以今次嘅8000元或者4000元嘅工資補貼咧，係一定會交到去嗰個僱主嘅僱員嘅身上。但今次改咗嗰個取消咗呢個3萬蚊嘅上限，其實上一轉都冇嘅。上一轉如果有個人係賺8萬蚊，佢都可以申請。不過咧，我哋就係俾佢嘅工資嘅一半，以9000蚊為上限。 所以佢最多就攞到9000蚊嘅啫嚇。咁今次咧，因為有好多行業係好有特別嘅情況，我頭先舉咗有創科業，創科業好多初創公司都係中小企，係咪？但係佢請嘅人唔多，但係佢嘅本質係令到佢嗰啲僱員係比較高薪嘅嚇，好多都係4萬啊、5萬咁。另外一個譬如有啲私立學校或者其他嘅機構服務嘅機構，即係教育服務啊，或者係一啲社會服務嘅機構，佢亦都有一啲嘅僱員咧個薪金係高嘅嚇。咁所以如果係硬性擺一個3萬蚊月薪嘅樓下以下嘅人可以申請，以上唔可以申請咧，就令到呢啲其實我哋都想幫嘅中小企喎，佢都係中小企咧，就幫唔到佢。呢個亦都係我哋喺諮詢嘅時候聽得好清楚嘅意見。咁所以有啲持份者就話：你起碼提升到去4萬啦、5萬啦咁。咁當然有啲就話取消。咁所以考慮過呢個計劃要更加簡單咧，我哋覺得取消咧都係可以接受嘅。其實呢一種嘅做法都好慣常㗎啦。大家知道每年財政預算案咧都減稅嘅，無論你係幾高薪譬如俾15%嘅標準稅率，你都可以享有嗰個嘅財政預算案嘅減稅措施。不過就劃咗條上限，通常係1萬蚊即係一個每年交幾千萬稅嘅納稅人咧，佢都可以攞到嗰1萬蚊。所以嗰個嘅概念係一致嘅咁所以並冇出現你剛才嗰個情況。請得1000人以上嘅企業其實都好大㗎啦我哋都知道有個名單嘅，因為上次嘅2020保就業計劃咧係所有人都可以申請嘅咁所以為咗係俾更加多嘅資源係擺喺中小企嗰方面咧，就覺得你大企業你都唔應該全部都要由我哋補貼啊！你一個大企業，譬如大嘅連鎖嘅快餐店，或者大嘅一個專利巴士嘅公司，佢有好多巴士司機，好多員工咁我哋都唔可能幫佢5000、6000、7000咁嘅僱員啦。咁所以一個1000人嘅上限咧，都係寬鬆處理。我亦都睇唔到佢點解會為咗咁樣炒人。我哋已經幫咗佢1000人啦。咁其他我唔幫佢1000人，佢都唔會隨意炒人啦。如果佢嘅公司咧係要營運嘅，剔除名單變咗係受限名單咧，某程度上同我頭先講嗰個第一個問題嗰個精神都係一樣首先咧就係呢啲行業將會係仍然可以受惠，就同早前話如果你係呢啲行業請多過50人，你不能夠受惠。亦都好似頭先講啦，如果有稅務優惠，個個都可以受惠，不過就有個上限嘅啫，唔會隨住你想受惠多啲咧，就一定係俾你受惠多啲嘅咁所以喺個剔除名單裏邊咧，冇錯一啲藥行一啲係超級市場儘管佢好大型，但係我哋都係俾100個人嘅啫咁但係如果你話要逐間去研究，究竟超級市場呢個大類別裏邊有冇一啲好細嘅，譬如即係喺地鋪店，其實佢都可能叫超級市場咁但係你就話你唔能夠申請或者只能夠申請一個好細嘅數額，咁都唔係好公道。因為香港嘅行業係好多特質嘅一個咁簡單易明要快速發放津貼嘅保就業計劃呢，我哋冇可能做到咁細緻化，逐間企業去研究佢有冇賺錢，佢有冇蝕錢，佢喺第5波疫情裏邊係嗰個影響係大因為少，除非係俾我哋刪咗嗰啲處所就好清楚啦咁所以呢個都係一個即係我認為係一個好合理嘅做法啦。我相信社會亦都係好接受嘅。而有咗呢個100，亦都完全冇影響對於中小企嘅援助因為我哋就寧願將本來只係需要300億到嘅保就業計劃咧，而家提升到430億咁就係由政府咧去申請更加多嘅公帑去保護呢啲中小企，包括一啲高薪人數少嘅中小企。羅局長，
就算我未做問責官員之前咧，我都從來不會評論咧個別嘅官員嘅表現嘅，我只係會評論咧有關嘅政策嘅啫。咁呢個喺過往幾十年，我喺參與喺政治或者政策嘅工作咧，都係我經常保持嘅基本原則嚟嘅。作為一個問責官員，我更加唔會去評論咧我啲以前嘅同事或者今天嘅同事，恕怪我唔評論啦。